Today is April 16th, 2015. Ray, I'd like to welcome you to the Oral History Project of the Denver Police Museum. What type of work did you do before joining the police department?
Oh, right before I joined, I was a route salesman for Coca-Cola. Prior to that, I worked for Marathon Oil Research Center out in Littleton, Colorado in their supply area.
When did you join the Denver Police Department?
June 16, 1964. I was the very first class they let on at 21 years old.
What prompted you to join the department?
When I was in grade school and high school, I dated two girls whose fathers were on the police department. One was Pat Grace, he was a detective, and the other one was Buell O'Laughlin. He was on the motorcycle patrol in the traffic bureau. And talking to them, it sounded like a good job and a good career for me. And so as soon as they lowered the age to 21, I was on my way to work at Coca-Cola. I made a U-turn and went down and put in my application. 3 months later, I was swearing in for the Denver Police Department.
What was your starting salary?
Whopping $435 a month. I took a cut and pay from Coca-Cola to come on.
Where was the Denver Police Academy located?
We were located at Emily Griffith Opportunity School, and we had to stand roll call every morning in front of the police building at 13th and Champa and march up to Opportunity School. And we wore uniforms that looked like service station attendants. They were gray work uniforms. And Jim Larson and I were both about 6'8", and they couldn't find pants long enough for us, so we looked like we had pedal pushers on. So we got a lot of comments on the way up there. Right after the academy, patrolman, I was assigned out at District 2 for my first 3 months. And then after 3 months, we had to be transferred, so I went to District 1. After District 1, I eventually, about 5 years later, went to the Vice Bureau on temporary assignment for 6 months. And after the 6 months, they asked me to stay and if I wanted to be a detective in the Narcotics Bureau. And so I worked in narcotics for approximately 6 years. Part of that time was there was a new unit started of all the departments along the Front Range called the MEG unit, the Metropolitan Enforcement Group. And local police departments up until that time had never engaged in undercover work. And so they put us all in undercover work, and we made narcotics buys all up and down the Front Range. And one day, after several months of this, we had a mass roundup. We arrested over 150 people for sale and distribution of narcotics, everywhere from marijuana to heroin.
Wow. So tell me, doing that had to be kind of completely something new for you.
It really was, and most police departments didn't even know we existed. It was really a secret, kind of a secret organization. When it came out in the papers, they called us the secret police. And of course, none of us looked like policemen. We were all, kind of disheveled. I had long hair down to my shoulders and a full beard, and it was kind of funny. I drove a truck. That was the hippie time. And I drove a old van that had stars and stripes all over it and everything. And my dad told me, he says, if you ever come out to visit us, would you please come at night and park around the corner?
Really?
Yeah. Yeah, there were quite a few times. Right towards the end of my career there, I ended up getting shot. I had developed some information through an informant that the two people, Delphi Herrera and Theodore Trusty, had killed a deputy sheriff up in Wyoming and shot another police officer in northern Colorado. And I got some information through an informant that they were on their way to Denver. And we sat up on the house, and eventually they showed up and we got in a chase with them. We ended up out at 56th and Washington, and they got stopped by a train and there was a shootout. Both of them were killed, and I got shot in the stomach. And miraculously, they had a girl with them. She was sitting in the middle of the truck between the two of them. She never even received a scratch.
Wow. So when you got, did you receive any medals or anything for that?
I received the Service Cross.
Wow. That's
Later on down the road, after I was in the academy, I was active in the peer support program. And that's the main reason, because I had some problems with that afterwards, after the shooting. And flashbacks and things like that, loud noises that really startled me. So I got involved in the peer support program and counseled other officers in shootings, and we started responding to all the shootings in Denver metro area, not just Denver Police Department, but any other departments where an officer was involved in a shooting or was shot.
That's great.
I made sergeant in 1975, shortly after I was shot. And after I made sergeant, I went to internal affairs for my first assignment. And that was a year assignment, but I only ended up spending 3 months because John O'Shea was deputy chief at that point, and an opening opened up for the Southern Police Institute at the University of Louisville for 1 semester. So he sent me down there to the University of Louisville to the Southern Police Institute for 4 months.
What did you do there?
It was all police management, finances, every type activity a police department is involved in.
Wow.
It was pretty extensive, and of course we lived on campus, and we were students at the University of Louisville. Matter of fact, to this day I still get alumni information from them.
That's great. That had to be a real honor then.
Yeah, it was. It's similar, quite similar to the FBI Academy. And shortly after I came back from there, then my name came up for the FBI Academy, and I passed it over because I didn't think I ought to be gone from my family for another 4 months.
What other assignments did you have, Ray?
Oh gosh, as a sergeant, after internal affairs, I went to the burglary detail for a while. I also went to crimes against persons for a while. I was assigned to the Denver Police Academy as an instructor, and
What did you teach there?
I taught patrol operations, defensive driving, stress management, and that was in conjunction with the peer support thing, and various other things, scenarios where we acted out crime scenes, etc., like that. And then finally, after those assignments, I went back to my home away from home, which was District 2. And it was a shock to me because I hadn't been in uniform for a long time, so I went back, had to get new uniforms actually because I gained a little weight. And I worked out at District 2 until I just got tired of the shift work. I was one of the junior sergeants out there, believe it or not, after all that time, and so I transferred to the Identification Bureau, and it was straight days, and it gave a little break to my system as to rotating and working morning shift.
Out of all of these assignments, which one did you enjoy the most?
I really, after all my assignments, I thoroughly enjoyed working undercover. I really did, and but my assignments within the police department, I think my favorite up to that point had to be the street. I loved the street, and I loved the guys that worked for me. And I had two great captains out there, Chris Wilkerson and Vince DeManna. And Vince, when I was out there, that was actually after I made lieutenant and went back. We got the class of '86, the dreaded class of '86, and District 1 wanted to get rid of them. And so I told Vince, let's get these guys. They're good cops and they really work hard. And he said, are you sure you can control them? And I said, Vince, I'll give it everything I got. So we brought that whole class out there, and they were a bunch of wild horse riders, and I spent a lot of my time answering complaints, but most of the complaints were unfounded, and these guys did a fantastic job.
Were there some particular ones that you became close to?
Oh yeah, Jamie Smith, Dan O'Shea, they were the two that really stuck out the most. Well, when I was in narcotics, I was given the nickname The Tree by Miguel Martinez. Miguel gave everybody a nickname. And the way I got the name of the tree, we went on a search warrant over on Logan one time, and we were just getting ready to go up and hit the house when the front door opened. So we all jumped back in the bushes because we didn't want to alert them so they could go in and flush their dope. And we're standing in the bushes, and all of a sudden my legs started getting warm. And I looked down, and they had let their German Shepherd out, and the German Shepherd was relieving himself on my leg. And Miguel says the reason he was relieving himself on you, he thought you were a tree, you're so damn tall. And that name stuck to me today. Some people still call me the tree.
When did you retire, Bree?
I retired in July 17th, 1995. I put in 31 years. I have the distinction of being the youngest guy ever to retire with 31 years on, because I was in the first class at 21, and I was the first one to retire with 31 years of the youngest guys.
Do you miss it?
I miss the people. I really do. And the camaraderie, both on the street and, of course, in narcotics, you know, because it was dangerous. We were a very close-knit group, and to this day, I still keep in contact with Mike Christopher, who was one of my partners up there, and Joe Martinelli, who was one of the others. There were four of us on the same shift: Joe Martinelli, Mike Martinez, Mike Christopher, and me. And we drove Steve Metros absolutely crazy. He used to call me the tall juvenile delinquent.
What do you want your family to remember you by on the Denver Police Department?
Oh, just that it was a fantastic job. I knew it was a good job from talking to the two officers whose daughters I dated, but I had no idea it wasn't like a job. It was fun. And what I thoroughly enjoyed is when I got bored in an assignment, I went somewhere else, and it was like a new job. And I must have had, over my 31 years, I probably had about 15 different jobs on the police department. I worked in every section of the police department possible. You know, from administration to investigations to fleet management to the ID Bureau. And my final year was spent in traffic with Jim Collier. And Jim is a jewel among men, in my opinion. He really almost convinced me to stay when I was ready to retire. And it was about 50-50 whether I was going to go or stay. And finally I decided, you know, 31 years is enough. So I retired at 52, and I've been retired, well, it'll be 20 years coming up. And it's been a fantastic career. One thing I didn't mention is when I was in Narcotics Bureau, I played on the Denver Police basketball team, and we played in a national tournament in Louisville, Kentucky. And Mike Christopher was on that team, Mike Rosales, numerous other guys Jess Brazel, Benny Lee, I can't remember them all, but we ended up second in the nation for police basketball teams. The only team that beat us was a team of volunteer probation officers from Louisville, Kentucky, and they turned out to be all Kentucky Colonel basketball players that were semi-pro, and they were the only team that beat us.
What's your feelings about having a law enforcement academy, a museum here in Denver?
Oh, I think it's fantastic. I've been to the museum in Chicago, and it was very nice. And I just think it's a great idea, because a lot of the things that have gone on and a lot of the things that I grew up with on the police department are gone. And a lot of those people are gone, and you know, their memories will never be brought up again. And a lot of things have changed. Like I say, we went from no radios in the cars to now everybody's got a radio, and there's so many advancements and everything. But I think we ought to hold on to the older days too. My wife speaks highly of all the people involved in the museum, because she's known them all a lot longer than I have. But I just think it's a fantastic thing, and I mean, it's evidenced by this dinner that you guys put on here a while back, that you know, people want to stay together, and people want to keep the Denver Police Department as it was and as it is going.
Well, on behalf of the citizens of Denver, we want to thank you for your service.
Okay,